I'd like to welcome everybody today to SEO cleaning. We've been seeing a lot of websites come in here lately that are very not clean. And I don't know if you've ever experienced what it is like to actually work on a website that has clean code, clean content, and is light and fluffy and easy and has great load speed. But it's so much easier to do website SEO when the site is very clean. So we're going to go over today a couple of the things about kind of SEO cleaning. We're going to start with Ryan Hill. Ryan is one of our top SEO people at Glacial Multimedia. And Ryan will often first get these websites and then have to figure out, hey, what do I do to clean up the code and tags? And Ryan, I just want you to comment quickly on what do you do day to day on fixing crawl errors, tag review, and overall getting the code ready so that the website can perform at SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. The first step is really just kind of doing a pre-audit of the website and kind of gathering all the changes that you want to make up. Going off what you said, my main philosophy and what we usually see come in and what we try to change is just to try and be more straight to the point for Google. That can involve everything from title tags, URLs, the way subpages are structured, and even something as simple as a header. To give you one example, we all know title tags play a big part in the overall SEO performance of a site. If we're trying to rank for a LASIK term specifically, a lot of times we might get title tags where a previous company or somebody else just tried to rank for all laser vision correction keywords. And in a title tag, it might have something like laser vision correction in such and such area with the name of the practice in the title tag. What I usually like to do is I like to just pretty much trim that up. It's trying to do too much with too little when it comes to a title tag. For example, with the laser vision correction title tag, what we try to do is we like to just do LASIK eye surgery, based on our keyword research and what we have seen performs the best and gets the most clicks when you rank for LASIK certain area. The LASIK keywords do the best in terms of the overall traffic. That's one way that you just kind of trim the fat on a title tag. The other thing we always like to take note of is the URL structure. Kind of going back to what I said of being more straight to the point for Google to index your site. A lot of times we'll see your main services be sub-pages of something like other procedures or eye care services. And something might say eye care services / LASIK. When Google sees this, they actually think that the term eye care services pulls more weight for your website rather than just ranking for the term LASIK. The one thing that we like to do is actually take LASIK and make it more of a direct URL and shorten it up a little bit. When you take out eye care services or other procedures or just even the word procedures, that might not be a strong, what we call a strong service page. Google reads that and thinks, oh, well, the eye care page that only has 10 links to the sub pages on its main page. This LASIK, what we're trying to rank for, is a sub page of this weaker page. So it kind of holds you back a little bit more when it comes to Google ranking that page higher. What we do is actually basically make Google say, hey, or we tell Google, hey, these pages are actually more important and these are top level pages for your top level procedures. Those are two of the really the most simple, easiest things that come in is those things we do like to clean up right away. That's kind of, we knock out that foundation, even headers and, some of the content and the way it's structured throughout the site. We have figured out that, headers that do try to answer people's questions, like, do I need cataract surgery? Am I eligible for dry eye treatment or what are dry eye symptoms? That's another thing that is a fairly simple on-page thing that should be straightforward. We're kind of gearing to answer people's questions when they do certain search queries. And like you said, on the data we've had and what we've seen, we angle those to more of a concentrated, network of people that are doing these higher search terms and, basically kind of tweaking everything to the higher traffic keywords at the end of the day.
Great. Let's move on to the content cleanup. Lately, we've had all kinds of issues. I want to bring Onur in on this. Onur is the CTO of Glacial Multimedia with over 20 years of SEO experience. Things are not what they used to be with content, and lately we've been finding issues with site architecture, thin content, short blog posts, pages that are basically not popular, never clicked on, in the way and causing SEO problems. Onur, what are some of your thoughts on getting the site architecture that Ryan was talking about right, but blending that with the right approach to content development?
Yeah, as you said, Mike, we're finding a lot of sites that are having lots of pages within content or content that doesn't really have an impact on the SEO whatsoever. And this is normal because it's become easier over the years to create pages with content management systems and WordPress and such. So people tend to think sometimes that the more pages, the better. But really, that's not the case. You want to make sure that all the pages on your website have a sufficient amount of content. And also, it's become commonplace to copy and reuse a lot of content from other sites, other pages, other sources on the internet. And that's been creating lots of duplicate content issues. One way to deal with duplicate content is to use the canonical tag. Canonical tag is a way to tell search engines that the content on a particular page is the master version of it, and that other versions of it may reside on your website. You can use it when you're referencing another website and you want to take that content and have it on your website. Or you can have a number of pages on your existing website that have the same or very similar content. And you can tell Google or a search engine using that canonical tag that page A is the master version, and then page B and C, for example, are the copies. And this helps Google crawl the site in a healthier way. And it's also common that sometimes people confuse a robots.txt file, which tells which pages on a website you want Google to index versus not with canonical. And we even sometimes find canonical pages linking to no index pages, which results in a massive amount of link equity disappearing from your website. So what I would recommend overall is to find all the pages on your website that have any duplicate content, whether internal from external sites. Make sure you use the canonical tag on those. And any pages that have thin content, for example, that have a sentence or a social media post without any other additional unique content, and probably no index of those.
Great, Onur. Thanks for all that commentary. Another really important thing that comes up in the SEO cleaning is so many sites come over with really, really slow load speed. I'd like to introduce Jamieson Web King, the director of web performance, because load speed and web performance go together. So it's a great question for you to answer. So we're seeing a ton of this. Google Vitals is coming out. What are we looking at with load speed? Why historically has this been poor? And what are some of the things you're doing to enhance the overall load speed on sites?
Sure. So as you mentioned, with Web Vitals coming out, that's one of Google's new SEO scoring metrics. Officially rolls out May of 2021 this year, but they've been testing out previously. So what we're seeing a lot of times, like load speed wasn't so much an issue. And to Onur's point, with the proliferation of these content builders, especially on popular CMSs, the great trade-off with those is it's very, very easy to publish content or to build out new little features, to add certain widgets or designs. The trade-off you make there is performance-wise. So the quality of the code in these page builders, in these tools, your trade-off is bloat, essentially. So you've added your content that's SEO optimized, but now you're running into the issue of like, well, it takes 10 seconds to load. And as that being an upcoming metric, now we're having to go through, and on a lot of the sites that we're seeing these days, many of them have been built with these like very like useful tools, but now we're having to kind of strip that back and rebuild certain portions of these to not use these page builders, so that we're hitting the metrics required by Google for like the load speed times. So other things that you might be seeing like that will impact a Web Vital can be content disappearing or reappearing on certain load speed or on certain devices, which in itself is like hurting your site, with mobile first indexing being a thing now. Historically, we've seen a lot of sites that will have certain sections like on a mobile site showing different content than on the desktop. And now with the mobile first indexing, like we want that content to be the same across both devices. So really what we're seeing, we're taking these sites over, and when it comes to web performance in the SEO world, is making sure that content across the site, whether on your mobile or desktop, is the same, and that whether it's on mobile or desktop, it's loading as fast as possible with as little distractions as possible.
Thanks, Jamieson. Moving into the off-page realm that is often really neglected by most SEO companies, but super vital to the performance of any SEO campaign. The first area that I wanted to kind of address is the spam score. We've been running into this spam score situation where we're having websites come over, and these are pre-established links with very, very, very high spam scores. So we've started a process here at Glacial to clean those up, because nobody wants to have 300 links with spam scores above 50%. So we're really working hard to kind of address this. Spam scores, for the most part, involves the amount of incoming spammy links that you have, and then the association with any internal pages of yours that would be considered spammy for that matter. So we really want to get rid of the dirty links, and we really want to make sure that our pages are optimized so that we can index not just the home page, but multiple secondary pages. Ryan, can you talk a little bit about when I come to you and say, hey, we got to disavow these links, what's the disavow process like for you? How do you do it? Where do you go? And what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, so basically we have a couple of ways that we can see internal or incoming links to the site, from external sources. It is a very simple procedure, and like it's 1 or 2 steps. You basically have to make a certain text file and upload it to the Google Search Console. But behind all of that, at the end of the day, what you're telling Google is, hey, we don't want to be associated with these high spammy sites. We don't want to look less credible. If we have 25 links coming from some kind of spammy site that has a spam score of 99, that can impact your spam score as well. The domain authority and spam scores the spam scores are lower and the domain authority will be higher for some sites, like a more concentrated, Google indexing a more concentrated amount of links that are actually quality for your site, rather than having, if you have 1,200 links coming in and 600 of them have really high spam scores, they might be harming your site compared to just having maybe 500 less with higher domain authorities and lower spam scores. So it's kind of just giving Google a better concentration of credible sites that we want to be seen linking from.
Great, thanks, Ryan. I also wanted to, and Jamieson, if you could jump in on this, Onur, if you could jump in too. Other off-page elements, primarily in the realm of NAP consistency, or name, address, and phone number, as we move over to the Google My Business aspect of this. Really quickly, what's the importance of name, address, and phone number, Jamieson, and what have you seen this do for some of our clients that previously had very inconsistent results?
Yeah, so actually an example comes to mind of what I was just talking about previously. We saw this exact thing. So on a mobile site, there was a different address listed, like pointing to the wrong GMB profile. But on desktop, it was pointing to the correct one and everything looked right. So historically, if it had not been looked at, or if you're not comparing across both, like this is something you're going to miss. And so like when the site came over, trying to figure out like why everything looks right, what's something we're missing. And this was caught. So we've seen the importance of the GMB profile and local SEO, the impact and the influence that is having on overall rankings just continues to rise. Another really important in that aspect is schema markup. And in that regards, I want to turn the floor to Onur. But this is very much right up in his realm.
Thank you, Jamieson. So referring to schema markup, we're actually referring to some special code that you can place in your HTML behind the scenes to tell search engines more about your content than they would be able to tell just by looking at your code without the tags. So the tags can specifically relate to a number of different categories which are common across the web. It could be a business, the business information. It could be about people who work there. And in our case, at Glacial, in the medical world, we're specifically referring to being able to tell Google who the practice is, what their locations are, where they are, some maybe reviews about the locations or the doctors who work there and who the doctors are and what their names are. So there's particular types of schema code that you can use behind the scenes to let search engines know. And using this additional information, Google is able to display what are called rich snippets. And that means that your search results for your website on Google will actually look a little bit different, will be enhanced, will be augmented using the schema tag information. Sometimes you can see it in the form of little pictures. You can see it in the form of videos that may show up, or little stars that show up under a listing indicating the review rating. But they've become an indispensable tool for us at Glacial as we continue to enhance our SEO strategies.
Thanks, Onur. That's going to conclude our SEO cleaning today. We hope that everybody got a little bit out of this and the importance of cleaning, because it can just make such a tremendous improvement in how you do on your search engine results, which can lead to more traffic. And ultimately, that's the goal for everyone here. So we plan to do a series of these SEO videos, so stay tuned. We have more coming down the road.